join them.
So speaking of drinking substances and toxic relationships.
Oh, yes.
The first question I picked out, this is from the Ask Dating Reddit, is would you date someone who doesn't drink?
You know, I actually just thought about this question the other day. I can't remember why. I came across, maybe there was something on like TikTok or anything where there was this person who didn't drink. And I feel like that would be so awkward. I think that would depend on what stage and what relationship they have to alcohol. If it's like, you know, when your partner is on a diet and so you should not tempt them, that's hard. So I feel like if I was with someone that doesn't drink and is not comfortable with me drinking around them, that would definitely be very challenging. I probably would try, but I don't know if I would be successful. And then, you know, you have the aspect of going out to have a drink and just kind of like the awkwardness of the first date where it's like that person is not drinking and I'm drunk.
I don't think that someone who declares outright that they do not drink, and I'm not saying taking periods off from drinking, because I have taken months off from drinking and I plan to in the future to take periods off, maybe even years, who knows. But I think someone that declares that they drink, who tries to date someone who, or someone that declares that they don't drink, who tries to date someone who drinks, will just not work out. And it's not because of the substance. I think it's more because of the value system and the way you behave. Because when you're in a group of drunk people, one of the reasons why it's fun is because you're also drunk and you're also drinking, and it takes the edge off. And one of the least fulfilling experiences ever is being the sober one out in a drunk group. It's just not fun.
Again, you know, if you choose not to drink, and I mean, again, there's this difference as well in, are you not drinking because, you know, you just not interested, you just don't want it, or you don't like it? Or are you not drinking because you have an addictive problem that made you need to be sober? Because then that's again like a very different thing when you are with someone that's struggling daily with addiction, and you know, maybe that person has been sober for 10 years and they're doing great, etc. And I don't think I would never date someone based on their sole relationship with alcohol or even past addictions, because I think everyone deserves a chance regardless. But if you're like, let's say you just don't really like alcohol and you've been that way your entire life, you are probably used to going out with friends and being the sober one. So that's not necessarily something that would then bother you. But then would you be bothered to have your partner just be sober, I guess?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So I'm not old enough, and we're not really old enough yet to have alcoholic friends who abstain from alcohol, because typically that happens in 30s, 40s. There's not a lot of 20-year-olds that are declaring themselves alcoholic.
Here's the thing with all alcoholics is just that we've not been diagnosed with it yet.
Sure. Yeah. That I definitely would fit into the category of alcoholic if you just looked on the frequency of drinking earlier in life, especially in college, drinking four nights a week, heavily for 4 years straight. And it was fun. I mean, it was fun because my body could handle it, and I was much better at recovering from hangovers. But in my experience, everyone I've met who chooses not to drink for moral reasons, I'm not talking about someone who was an alcoholic and is now clean. It's someone who chooses to drink, or someone who chooses not to drink for moral reasons, is always boring. That has been my experience meeting people that choose not to drink. And I'm not talking about taking periods off from drinking. I have very fun friends, and I've met very fun people who will say, hey, I'm not having a drink tonight, and they're just not drinking for the year, or maybe they're taking a month off from drinking. they're being sober for however much a period of time just to kind of reset their relationship with alcohol. But people who tend to not drink for moral reasons are, in my experience, very judgmental, not fun, just have a boring, blasé attitude. They make you feel bad for having fun. And I've met one person in my life who he's one of the most fun people I've ever been around. I played baseball with him at Richmond, and he did not drink alcohol. And I believe, I've never actually had a conversation with him, but I believe it was because he had a family history of alcoholism, and he was avoiding even testing the waters with that. He didn't want to drink because he knew his family history. He may have even had a relative that passed away from alcohol-related death, and as a result, he didn't drink. But I never felt like he judged anyone for drinking. If you saw him out, you would have thought he was also drinking just because that's how fun he was. Yeah. And so for that, and I don't consider that a moral reason not to drink. I consider that I'm preventing a future problem because of my genetics.
Yeah.
I think people who are just like, I don't drink, and there's no family history, they're not former alcoholics. A lot of those people I've just gotten I'm better than you vibes, or they're not fun, or they're punishing themselves in some way. Because a lot of times when I've abstained from alcohol, I become less fun. And maybe that's probably a problem with me, that I associate alcohol with fun. But I've pushed away drinks at times in my life, and I'm not sure why I did it, other than the fact that I just wanted to be someone who wasn't drinking. I don't think that drink would have destroyed me that night. I'm like, why didn't I just have a drink? Why didn't I just have fun? Why didn't I just give into it? I don't have any family history. I'm not an alcoholic. This having 2 beers on a Thursday is not going to kill me. It would probably enhance my experience to be able to have a more free-flowing, exciting conversation. And that's been how I've felt.
I feel that maybe because we are in this transitional period between like binge drinking and having social drinks and just not drinking to get wasted, being in our late 20s, it's just kind of a weird time, because in our early 20s, fun was associated with alcohol. Alcohol is associated with partying, going to bars, meeting people, being disinhibited, and just kind of like very talkative and relaxed and fun. And alcohol makes most people fun. Like, they make some people angry and whatnot, but most people, they just get a little more loosey-goosey and they're a good time. And it's generally during parties, etc. And now that I think, especially with the pandemic, where things have really slowed down and we don't, like, it's starting back up a bit, but most of the interactions that we've had, most of the social interactions we've had during the pandemic were like in small groups and maybe staying at home a lot. And so maybe just having, one glass of wine, a couple beers, and not necessarily getting to that drunk, fun state, and way less regularly as well. So we kind of like are learning to be your own person without needing alcohol to talk to people and whatnot.
How funny would it be if I'm sitting here talking about how I've had a good relationship with alcohol, and this is just straight whiskey filled to the brim in this cup on 3:00 in the afternoon.
We'll have to check in 10 years.
Yeah, no, I've never had a problem with alcohol in my life.
Yeah, me neither. This is not straight vodka at all.
I've always had a healthy relationship with alcohol, which is why I wait until at least 11 a.m. to crack the first bottle of whiskey. But no, I feel like part of becoming an adult is reconciling and enhancing your relationship with alcohol. It becomes a tool to black out when you are in college. Yeah. And you don't really have, when you're in college, you don't have you have a heavy foot with alcohol. It's like you're driving and you just know how to step on the gas or press the brake. There's no in between. You can't just sit in the middle lane. You always have to be flooring at 95 in the left or be going 40 miles an hour in the right when you're hungover, so that 3 hours later you can start flooring it again. But when you become older, you learn to use alcohol to enhance your experiences as an adult. And I've started to recognize that I don't enjoy the feeling of getting drunk as much as I used to. I don't know if I ever enjoyed the feeling of being belligerent, at least just being drunk when other stimulants haven't been involved. But I enjoy a nice light 2 to 3 drink buzz over the course of a couple hours, and staying at that level. And that is actually the best experience for me now, because I have some sort of forward thought of I don't want to wake up like a zombie 6:30 a.m. tomorrow. I want to have a good day tomorrow. Whereas I wasn't even thinking about that as a 19-year-old. I'm just like, my body's going to bounce back. And I mean, that could also just be me. Yeah. Adulting really is learning how to drink. That is an underrated skill as an adult, is learning how to drink well, and not making fancy drinks or knowing about the ins and outs of specific alcohols, but just like knowing how to pace yourself, knowing when to peak, and knowing when it's time to put down that last drink.